is that good?
I speak on my house,
Okay.
but this is mostly myself, 0 assists.
0 assists, so that'd be like you failing. Okay. And I asked that question because if you're a parent, and most parents, like when I consult with athletes, it's oftentimes just me and the athlete. Because shockingly, like athletes oftentimes don't want their parents there. Like they won't even let them see the assessment that they send to me. But then there are times like the parents always ask me, hey, should you meet with them alone or with me? I'm like, listen, I'd love it if you met with me and your son or daughter, but that's really up to them, right? And the reason that's so powerful is because what a parent can reinforce and what they're going to hear me talk about. It's like literally taking what has been this belief system and completely like eradicating it and explaining and identifying why someone feels like that, and then giving it an answer. Like this explains why I feel like that, so now it makes sense to me. And then creating a whole new definition of the game you're supposed to be playing, right?
Can I ask a really quick follow-up
Sure.
question? Is there anything that they might capture on here if we weren't sitting here? Is there
anything, I'm sorry?
that they would want to capture on the board if we weren't sitting here?
No, I think
that we
the
wanted
fact
to
that they
discuss?
said those things, I think that's, the fact you can see what they just said is powerful. Because again, a 10-year-old might not be able to express that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they might feel a certain way, but might not be able to tell you what exactly it is unless you ask them specifically, like, here, failure, like, have you thought about that and what is that?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just talk about that real quick. The most absurd part of failure, and this is consistent with almost every athlete I've ever sat down with, is what they consider failure. I mean, that's the most absurd part. Missing a shot, turning the ball over. You're like, what? I mean, if I asked you boys, Steph Curry, you agree he's a great three-point shooter? Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't follow him, but I'm guessing he makes somewhere between 43 and 50% of his three-point shots. So let's just say that that's true. He misses 50% of his shots, excuse me. He misses 50% of his shots. 50% at least, right? So just because you miss, should that be you failing? No, right? Like there's a miss category for a reason. There's a turnover category for a reason. There's an assist category, a make category, right? For a reason, because we're not perfect people. And we're not playing a perfect game. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
But in what you just said, like you're telling yourself that you expect yourself to somehow be perfect, because if failing is you making a mistake or missing a shot, then think about that. Like how many times are you going to feel like a failure if failing is turning the ball over or missing a shot? A lot or a little?
A lot.
A lot. Right? If that's the conversation you're having in your head. But you're never going to be perfect, right? You've never seen anybody play a perfect game ever in your life. You agree with that?
Yeah.
So if they're not going to be perfect, they're always going to make what? Mistakes. Right? That's built in. That's built into our experiences. You guys understand that?
Yeah.
And if I asked you, Alexander, hey, you're 10 years old, or 11, how old are you?
I'm 10.
10. So if I asked you, Alexander, 10 years old, do you believe that you deserve to like learn and grow and develop? Yeah. Do you guys all agree that you all do?
Yeah.
Okay, so think about that. If you deserve the chance to learn, grow, and develop, then that includes you being able to make mistakes and learning from them, not judging them. You understand the difference? I make a mistake and I'm like, okay, I just made a mistake. I don't like that. I'm not telling you to fall in love with it. I'm saying it's going to happen. It's built in. No matter what, you're not going to be perfect, especially at age 10. Does that make sense? So if you accept that, then you'll stop judging the mistake and telling yourself that I'm a failure because somehow I made something that was going to happen no matter what. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So instead of judging it, you go, okay, well, what could I do differently? What could I do better? Right? And I watched your film. Like, I could tell you, if we have time at the end, I'll go over that with you to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Right? So if you deserve the chance to learn and grow and develop at age 10, then you're not looking to like beat yourself up when you do something that's not necessarily what you want. Instead, you're like, okay, didn't want to turn it over. What could I do differently? And usually there's an answer. Do you guys agree with that? If you don't know the answer, that's a problem. That's where you go to your coach and like, he gives you feedback or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But imagine what happens when you think that a mistake or missed shots or whatever is failing. You go out there and you want to succeed, right? Is that fair to say? Okay, but I'm going to show you something. Okay? Can I use this table real fast? It's just easier for me. Okay. So I'm going to show you something. This right here is the world that you're in. People set goals for themselves. So for you guys, if you think you're not going to make a mistake, then really the only way you can feel like you're successful is if you don't make a what? Mistake. If I don't miss a shot, if I don't turn it over, if my guy doesn't score, if I don't drop a ball, whatever it is, whatever sport you're talking about, like you set this expectation in your head that the only way you can really feel successful is if you get exactly what you want all the time. You see what I'm talking about? Is that realistic or not realistic? It's real what I said, but do you really think you're going to get what you want all the time? No, so that's unrealistic that you're going to get what you want all the time. Do you agree? Okay, here's the problem though. The only chance you give yourself to feel successful is if you accomplish exactly what you thought in your head was success, which is, I'm perfect. You understand that? Yeah. Everything else, the second you make a mistake, throws you into this category where you feel like a what? Exactly. And that box is huge. Because you're always going to make mistakes. Always. But you can have a lot of successes if you let yourself understand what success actually is. So this is why you feel so crappy. Does that make sense, parents?
Yes.
This is why they feel so crappy. This is why they feel pressure. Every time they go out and it's like, oh man, I don't want to screw this thing up. Well, like that dialogue right there already puts you in a position to not go out there and play to your potential. Because if you're scared about making mistakes and you're scared about messing something up, do you really think you're going to let yourself play free? No. You're going to try to not be bad. Does that make sense? And that's going to change your whole game. You can't be great worrying about failing. You can't be great worrying about being bad. You can only be great if you let yourself accept that the only thing I can do is go out there and give you my absolute best. And if I do that, and I've worked on my game, then I believe I'm going to be good enough to make a really good contribution to this game. And I'm going to accept the fact that I'm not going to be perfect with everything I do. And when I make mistakes, I'm going to try to learn from them, not beat myself up over them. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Wouldn't you rather play like that? Yeah. Because how much better do you think you'd play if you weren't feeling pressure? Yeah. You know what I mean? Pressure is brutal. They won't understand this. I'll talk to you parents because you're here. They might understand it. But there's this brutal cycle, and it starts with pressure. It starts with perfectionism. That P is for perfectionism. That leads to judgment. That leads to judgment, which leads to pressure, which leads to expectations, which leads to fear of failure. And it's brutal. It's like a cycle that you could see as glaring as anything else you would ever see in your life. It's so obvious. Because the second I tell myself I gotta be perfect, then the second I make a mistake, I go into judgment mode. Right? And so I'm not like telling myself it's okay, I'm just beating myself up over it. And the second I do that, I'm gonna tell myself I can't do that again, which only now creates the pressure. Right? And then I start feeling the pressure. Do you really think they're gonna play for you the second they start feeling pressure? Their whole game's gonna change. Because now, again, they're trying to protect against being bad. They're not even trying to be good. I did that. I literally was dominating with the Niners. Jerry Rice was on the team. Steve Young, they were like the dynasty organization. And I was this kid who spent 2 years with the Chargers who didn't play it down in the regular season. And I go to the Niners, and I'm just supposed to be there for a one-day workout, which turned into a 2-year contract. And next thing you know, I'm playing the best football of my life. And I, challenged myself mentally and psychologically. I was the only guy not wearing gloves in games. Like, I was just on another level. Played out of my mind next to Jerry and in the most intense environment I've ever been in. Preseason player of the game, my first preseason game. Led them in every receiving category in preseason. And right after my first preseason game, the head coach started mother effing me, basically, out of nowhere. Made no sense. Didn't really affect me at first. I thought it was kind of a one-day thing, and it turned into like a 3 times a week thing. And it literally, he was looking for reasons to do it. I was this quiet, humble, articulate kid who won every conditioning drill from the moment I got there. was a pound for pound guy in the weight room, would do anything you asked me to do, was staying after 2 training camp practices in 112-degree weather, catching balls in another 30 minutes. I was dominating, and I was doing it with the best attitude in the world, and this guy's mother effing me. It just made no sense. And because it made no sense, honestly, it didn't really affect me. I was able to just go like, I don't know what this dude's problem is, man. But I'm out here dominating, and it feels great. I made the team, and I decided to talk to this coach, and I said, hey, coach, can I talk to you? What do you want? I'm like, hey, I don't know if I gave you the wrong impression who I am. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just here to do the best player I can be and help this team win. That's all I care about. If it was an issue, you wouldn't be here, so drop it and walked away. That was like literally our conversation. And then he continued to MF me. And it was 3 weeks into the regular season. I was supposed to get a rep. He told me to get out of there. He put in Jerry Rice. And if you guys don't know, Jerry Rice was considered and may still be considered to be the best wide receiver ever in the NFL. You guys are really young, so you wouldn't know who he is, but yeah, he was really, really good. You guys do know who he is?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. And so the coach told me to get out of there and put in Jerry Rice. I walked behind the huddle. I didn't like my walk behind the huddle, so he mother effed me again. And at that point, I just was like, I never said a word. I didn't want to knock him out cold the first time he talked to me like that, but you can't, you know what I mean? And so I had to just take it. But I remember just sitting there going, I hate this dude. I just hate this dude. And again, it hadn't affected me, but the next play was mine. I went to go get the play call, and I was jogging out to the right side of the field. And so he was standing there, and I'm jogging out towards him. And it looks like it's just me and him in a tunnel. He's just like staring at me. And so I was aware of him, but I wasn't consumed with him. And then I lined up this way to go run my route. I run my route and coincidentally drop the ball. I really hadn't done that very much in months. And he didn't even say anything about it, but I knew he saw it, and I knew he didn't like me. I knew he just, cussed me out. So in my head, I thought to myself as I picked up the ball, dude, you can't start dropping balls. This guy hates your guts. He'll cut you, and then you're drew. That one thought for 5 seconds made me forget how to catch a football the next day. It was brutal. Because up until that point, everything I was doing was about me lining up and expecting to get exactly what I wanted because I was prepared to do that. And I was fearless in doing it, which is why it worked over and over and over and over again. There was not even a thought in my head that I couldn't get what I wanted. And I accepted the consequence. Like early on, I was like, if they cut me, they cut me. It is what it is. I'm going to go ball out and do my thing. I did it freely, and it just became me. But in one day, it went from, I'm going to just line up and get what I want to, come on, dude, you can't drop a ball. He's going to cut you. And that thought just changes everything. That inner dialogue changes the entire game you're playing. I was no longer trying to be great. I was trying not to be bad. You guys understand what I'm saying? And there's a huge difference in that, which is why you can't worry about, the mistake. Because it's happening. No matter what, I'm always going to drop a ball, whether I'm the best receiver ever or I'm just an okay guy. I'm always going to drop a ball. It's going to happen at some point because we're human. Does that make sense? But I couldn't let it go. The second I dropped the ball, oh shoot, come on, you can't do that again. Then you line up, and because you don't understand, you're drawing yourself to what you don't want. You do it again. And then oh, come on, dude, come on. Don't do this, dude. Come on, he's going to cut you. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I need to catch balls tomorrow, and that'll fix it. And then you go out and catch balls for extra time, and it fixes nothing. And now you feel completely vulnerable because you thought that was going to work, and it didn't. And I remember just feeling so horrible at that point in time in my life. It happened for 3 weeks, and I just gradually got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And literally got so bad, I was like, we'd go do one-on-one reps, and I'd go get my ankles taped. And we do team stuff and 7-on-7 stuff, and I couldn't avoid taking my reps. I purposely would go get covered so I wouldn't get a ball thrown to me. It just got absurd, and I could feel myself doing it, and it felt horrible. But I was that frightened about the consequence, right? And I went home one night and just felt just so lost and defeated, and just was like, how the freak did I end up here? I hate this game right now. 3 weeks ago I was dominating. Steve Young's like, this guy's a dude, and I'm dominating. I love the game, and now I hate it. All I want to do is call timeout and not have to go to practice tomorrow. And I don't know how to get out of this. And then I was able to do what most people can't do, to be honest with you. I was able to have a rational conversation with myself at a really emotional time, and that enabled me to become very empowered in 5 minutes. Because I brought a realism to something that was all emotional. This is exactly why they say don't make emotional decisions, because you'll never make the right ones. And I asked one question, and it led me to the right answers. The question I asked was, how did I get here? I don't like this guy, I don't respect this dude. This guy's no reason to feel the way he feels about me. How did I let this guy change my game? That one question right there, led me to me bringing myself back to what the game was. Because what followed after that was, I didn't know who this dude was 7 months ago. And I'm letting this fool change my game. Like, I never played for this guy in the first place. I'm letting this guy change my game. I play for the 7 seconds I get to line up against some dude who thinks he's a dog, and he thinks he's alpha, and he's gonna stop me from getting what I want. He'll never do that. That's why I play. I love that. That's why I play the game. And what does that fool have to do with it? And that's what I talk to myself, or the conversation I had with myself, and every time I came up with some other, thought, I just was starting to get my swag back. And then I got pissed that I let someone steal that from me. And so I was like, tomorrow I'm gonna go get my 7 seconds back. He can do whatever he wants. I do not freaking care. Well, that made me go out, and I could not wait to do one-on-ones. I lined up. That coach was standing right there, as he always was. And the second I lined up, it was like these blinders went on, and everything went like this. Because I was so specific and determined to get something very intentional back. That word intention is huge for athletes. They don't even know what that means, but you can teach them what intention is. But I was very intentional with what I was there for. Does that make sense? I didn't want to just like win a route. I was like, I needed to own what I was about to do. Every step, every stride, every movement had to be mine on my terms. And so when I did that, I now understand it as hyper-focus. It got me hyper-focused. That intention created hyper-focus and connection and a different feel and a different fix. And so in that moment I won. Like the ball felt differently in my hands. I could hear things that I hadn't heard before. The dude grunting going that way, his cleats on the ground, everything just slowed down. And that's kind of the next dimension of sports. When you're living in your own space and you own what you do, then you can play on a different dimension. Can you teach a 10-year-old that? Absolutely. But that being said, that was day one of that. And then when I realized it worked, I began doing that every single day. And before you knew it, I was playing on a level that was just crazy. And I had to do that for 4.5 years. I was in that environment for 4.5 years. Where literally, I had coaches between San Fran and the Washington Redskins. I had coaches who did not want me there. So I would show up to practice and they were literally finding reasons to cut me. So every day I had to contend with that, which is not fun. Which is why I'm sensitive to how athletes function and the environment you create for them. But it was brutal to go through that, but I learned how to show up every day and go to another place where it was just my space and didn't fear failing. It didn't even exist anymore. I started creating a different dialogue with myself and creating the reality that they all should have. These guys have been exposed to a culture that sets them up to feel the things that they just expressed right there. That's what's brutal. We don't do it to them on purpose, but it's all around them. The celebration when they do something good, you don't celebrate when they do something bad. So it's like this conditional support. Even when we are supportive when they don't do something good, oftentimes we have something to say about it that they interpret as like, I must have done something bad. They lose, right? And they're like, we stink, I failed, whatever. They're used to that. They're used to being scrutinized. They're used to having to perform. They're used to trying to get people's approval, right? That they're enough and they're good enough. Is that true? You guys are used to trying to show people that you can play? Is that true? Yeah. Right? They try out here and whatever else. It's so that in itself is creating pressure because they don't understand what it is. You don't really need to show anybody anything. What you need to do is what my man just said right there, and that is allow yourself to play to your potential. But how do you learn how to do that? Well, that's not a physical thing, that's a mental thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Doesn't matter how many balls you shoot, that's a mental thing. You understand? So, for you guys, what you have to understand is that getting down on yourself, if you were getting down on yourself, you'd be getting down on yourself because you, what? Tell me. Why would you be getting down on yourself?
Because you miss a lot of shots and you make bad passes.
Okay, so stay right there. Are you going to miss shots? Yeah. Steph Curry can miss 9 shots in a row. Do you think he's really not going to shoot number 10? Or is he shooting number 10? Yeah, right? And this is why you have to take an ownership of your game, right? Most athletes only know how to borrow their game. They're always showing up waiting to see if their game's going to cooperate with them. That's what they do. They want to play well, but it's like, I'm going to wait to see if it's cooperating. If it's not, then I'm going to play differently. Does that make sense? And I have kids that are studs. I mean, most of my athletes go on and get opportunities to play in college and stuff, but I got some kids that are studs and they feel the exact same way. So it doesn't matter really how much success you're experiencing. It happens for everybody, right? But you have to realize you're going to miss shots. right? Your game isn't to try to make every shot, it's to try to make how many shots? One.
Another time.
And it doesn't matter what happened before. What happened before is done with. You're not changing that. So what your job is I need to ask myself, so what happened? Did I like not pay attention to the basket and I caught a ball and just kind of hucked one and hoped that it went in? Is that why I missed? Because do you guys do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do I know? Because I watched you guys on video. Right? So the guy catches the ball and it's like, boom, they just huck it up. And it's like, yeah, I know that you want to make that, but did you really have an intention there? Other than to throw it up and then hope that it works out in your favor. Right? So is that why I missed? If that's why I missed, then I'm going to go, well, next time I need to really like pay attention to the rim and, you know, see what I want to hit and then like shoot from there. Or let's say that I shot and I could feel like my elbow was out here and I knew that that's why, you know, I was short, I airballed. Well, then I'm like, okay, I can visualize what I've been taught, keep my elbow in, and like see myself doing that next time I get that ball, like that's my fix right there. Do you see how different that is? Because I'm not even worrying about what happened. I'm visualizing how I can fix it. And if I'm fixing it, could the next moment be a good moment? Yeah. So shouldn't that excite you rather than scare you?
Yes.
Yes. Do you see how like powerful that is and just the difference in what your interpretation of that is? It's huge, right? But you have to accept certain realities that they've never accepted. And the younger they are, the more important this becomes. You have to accept that you're never going to be perfect. You're going to miss shots. You might have a day where you miss 10 in a row. I didn't see anyone shoot 10 shots, but Coach Andrew would know. I don't know. But you might have a day where you miss 6 shots in a row. And if you tell yourself, I'm scared to miss number 7, for all you know, shot number 7 to 11, we're all going to go in. But you talked yourself into, well, now I'm scared to miss. Well, there's always a chance you could miss. You guys understand? There was always a chance you could miss. Always. Always. Does that make sense? And I'm gonna address what he said. So is there ever a time that you show up to practice or a game where you're like, you know what, I hope I shoot terrible today? Okay. Is there ever a time you show up to a practice or a game where you're like, you know what, I hope I have as many turnovers as I possibly can?
No.
Okay. So is there ever a time you're like, I want to play the worst defense I've ever played?
No.
Okay. So it's fair to say that every time you ever shoot a ball, fair to say that every time you turn it over, because I'm about to grab it, right? There's one turnover right there. Let's freaking go, right? Every time you shoot a ball, you dribble, right? That you want something positive to happen. True?
Mm-hmm.
In the most positive thing.
Yeah.
You guys agree with that?
Yes.
If you're dribbling and you're like, I want to go to the rim, then the most positive thing is breaking someone down one-on-one and getting to the rim, right? Like that's the best vision in your head, right? If you're shooting, it's like you're watching the ball go in and you're just seeing like yourself swishing it, whatever. That's always what you want, true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then let me ask you this question. You said, I get nervous or whatever, or if I make a mistake and it's a really important game, then like I get nervous or I'll start like worrying about making a mistake again. Well, think about it, like the game, you weren't worried about making a mistake for the other games. True? Were you focused on just like the good things that you wanted to have happen? Yeah. So every time you go do anything, your intention is to do it to the best of your ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's true, then why would a championship game be any different than practice?
Well, it's not a difference, it's just that in a championship game there's more pressure. In practice, I feel like I could just play my game without any pressure.
So that's my point. You're changing the game.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, do you want to make a shot?
Yeah.
Is that your goal?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that matter whether you're doing it here, in Vegas, in Orange County? What does it matter? You're shooting a ball and your goal is to like always put that ball in the rim. True?
Yeah.
So where does it matter that that's happening?
Well, it doesn't really matter, but it's just when there's a really big game, it's just a lot of pressure.
But what's a really big game? A game is just a game.
Well, I mean, any game, honestly, like.
Yeah, so what he's saying is now like he's saying it, like every game is just a game. Every game. Because your goal is always the same. I want to go out here and put that ball in the net, not have turnovers, play great defense, knowing that it's not going to go in every time, but my goal is always the same. And if I do like the best I can do, then I'm probably going to have some positive moments in the game. True? So what does that have to do with your opponent? Nothing or everything?
Every,
Nothing.
oh,
That game is all about who? One person. You. That's your game. That's you saying, I'm going to go here and like give you the best I have to give you. My goal is to make shots. My goal is to not turn it over. Right? So that's all about you. What does it have to do with anybody else?
no.
Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with anybody else. But who do you make it about a lot of times? No? Who do you make it about a lot of times? He just said it. It's the big game. Who do you make it about? Your what? Starts with an O.
Opponent.
Yeah, your opponents. You make it about your opponent. And because you make it about your opponent, then your game changes. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? When in reality, it has nothing to do with your opponents. It's about you telling yourself that this is what I'm going to let myself go out there and do. By the way, I could do a full talk on let versus try. Right? They don't know yet, but they probably try to do a lot of things instead of letting them do a lot of things. Let themselves do a lot of things. And those two words are so powerful. Because try, the second you tell yourself like you're going to try, you're trying to do something, there's an implication in there that you can't. And so they know it. Subconsciously, like they know that. I'm going to try to do this. Like, well, I just want you to like put that ball in the rim. Did I say you had to do that every time? Well, no, but you don't have to do it every time. I just want you to like do what I asked you to do and like go play this game and like let's see how many times you can put it into the net. And if you don't like what you did or there's something that we need to do differently, we're going to process it and then you're going to fix it and just play the same game. What do you need to try? But athletes try all the time. Because they try, there's some element of like nervousness and like feeling pressure about doing something wrong because they never accepted they're going to make mistakes. Do you see like the cycle?
Yeah.
It's horrible. Right? So what you guys have to do is understand that could you always fight through a moment that wasn't the way you wanted it to be? I mean, is there any reason like you couldn't fix playing better defense if like someone got around you? Could you fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you turn it over because you decided to pass with someone right here in your face and they were taller than you, and you went to go pass over their head and they stuck their hands up and deflected it and stole it, could you go, okay, well next time I'm not going to like pass when someone's standing right there? Yeah. So could you fix it? Yeah. So then why would I feel like I can't fight through bad moments?
Pressure.
But is there pressure if you're just playing a game that you know you're going to make mistakes in? Because there is no pressure, really. The pressure is like, well, I don't want to do something bad. Well, guess what? You might do something bad. It's okay. You understand what I'm saying? It's okay. And it's not even bad. It's just part of the game. If you were never going to turn it over, would they have a turnover category? No, right? They have a turnover category for a reason. Just ask Russell Westbrook. Yeah.
So one thing I know gets in my son's head, and I've seen it happen to Shane quite a bit, and I'm sure it's happened to all of us, is feeling like you got robbed or treated unfairly. So perfect example. Drive down the lane, or somebody comes at you, you go up, clean block, everything looks good, ref calls a foul. It probably wasn't. You just sent your guy to the line, let your team down, they may get some free throws out of it. You then go straight to the hoop and get absolutely clobbered, no call. I mean, that almost puts some of these guys in tears because it's like, you know, they feel like something's been taken from them that they had no, you know,
anticipation of.
or could fight for.
Right.
It's like the ref blew his whistle and he didn't blow it for me, he blew it for them. Make it fair, and nobody can. How would you get them to rationally, you know, mentally cope with a moment like that?
Yeah, and it's a little challenging because I don't want to say this to 10-year-olds necessarily, but bless you. But I've never been one who says like, don't show emotion. If that would aggravate me at age 10. You know what I mean? Like, I would be aggravated. I will tell you the biggest difference. Why I would tell you that you don't want to get too emotional about the things you can't control. Okay? So think about what I just said. You don't want to get too emotional about the things you can't control. You're not going to control the ref, right? Especially at 10 years old. You're not getting NBA refs. I promise you those refs are not going to make great calls all the time. I promise you. And you just have to know that you're not going to deal with refs who are always going to make the right calls. It doesn't mean it can't bother you when they don't make the right call, but you have to realize, like, that guy's not probably making all the best calls, right? Half the time he's probably waiting for the game to end so he can go to In-N-Out Burger, and that's what he's thinking about, his animal style fries. Like, who knows? You know what I mean? Like, he's not trying to make mistakes and trying to like ruin the game. He's just doing it, unfortunately, when he makes bad calls like that. He's inconsistent. But you have to understand that going in. Now, are we as parents going to get aggravated and probably bark at that guy if Coach Andrew lets us? Like,
Right.
yeah.
And then they feed off of
You know what I
it.
mean? Because that's aggravating. It's like, dude, come on, man. At least be consistent or watch the game or whatever. And I'd be not being realistic if I wasn't that dad too. But I would tell you this, that for most young kids, you can't get really emotional about that because it's going to take you out of your game. It's not a benefit. It doesn't like offer you something good when you're like, oh man, you see that? And you're like, all right, dude, calm down. Yeah, but it's like, but there is no. He called it. You're not changing it. So there's the rest of the game to play, right? So for you to get all worked up about one play or two plays or whatever, there's a whole other game to be played where like you can make up for that. You guys understand what I'm saying? Now, I would get really mad, but here's the difference. And I tell people this all the time. I'm a perfectionist, which means I always expected to be perfect all the time. But it never hurt me. Because when I would make a mistake, it wouldn't make me go, oh my gosh, I stink. Oh my gosh, I failed. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I'd be like, oh no way. Like, I don't accept that. Let's go. I want to do that again. So it actually made me better, not worse. I will tell you quite honestly that I've yet to sit down with one athlete and consult with them where like it makes them better. I just haven't seen it. It always sends them into a horrible place. And that's like the snowball that someone just rolled down the top of the hill and it turns into something much bigger. So you have to accept certain things. The first thing I want you to accept is that you're never going to be what? Perfect. Ever. And if you accept that you're never going to be perfect, then you'll be able to let go of those mistakes. I saw you guys turn it over. We're going to watch it if we have a second. Do you have time, Andrew?
If you can connect your computer, there's a cord there.
Yeah. Do you guys want to watch the game so that I can show you guys just some things that I saw? You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yesterday, my teacher told me about failing.
Okay.
And she said that, she says that failing is okay if that happens.
There is no such thing as failing for you as an athlete.
And she says that failing means first attempt in
With the L, first attempt at, I don't know. I was going to say losing, but that wouldn't make sense. But I'm gonna explain something to you guys really fast. Here, that what?
First attempt to learn.
Oh yeah, so I love that. So here's what I'm going to tell you guys. You're going to hear the word failure over and over and over again. It is the most inappropriate reference to anything you will ever do as an athlete. For every single one of you guys, anyone in here, do me a favor, just raise your hand if this is true. That you're here because you want to be really good at the things that you're doing. Raise your hand if that's true. Okay. So you all have a goal. You came here, and this was your starting point. I'm just going to put an S. Is that a good S? Is that right? Because it's upside down. That's our starting point. Let's say this is your goal and what you want to be. Okay? Can all you guys see that? That's your start. I don't trust myself to write this right. That's your start, and this is your goal. Okay? So, you came in being this person, you set this goal for yourself, and then you start on your way to achieving that goal. Okay? If I'm starting on my way to achieving that goal, does that mean I have to be moving towards it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm moving towards it, that means I'm moving where? Up. If I'm moving up, do you think I'm making progress?
Yes.
Yes. If I'm making progress, do you think I'm succeeding?
Yes.
So, here's the problem. This is a great lesson even for parents. This right here in their world is the only way that they tell themselves they experience success, is if that is met. And so they don't even let themselves experience success all the way up until that point, ever. And they have multiple successful moments over and over and over again every single day of their existence. And they will ignore them because subconsciously or otherwise they've been conditioned to focus on just this as being the only definition of success. And so everything that happens here is just completely ignored, when in reality, what they're doing is working towards this goal and making success all the while. And if I asked you guys, like, think about your shot. Let's just say you took a shot and you missed the shot, but it was so close. Like, left your hand, like, oh my gosh, I feel so good, but then you missed the shot. Okay? You were right there and you almost made the shot. Would that be you failing, or are you falling short from making the shot?
Falling short.
Exactly. That's you falling short. I fell short. I wanted to achieve this. I fell short. That's all. I fell short. And when I fall short, I go, okay, well, what do I do differently, or what could I do better? If the answer is nothing, because you guys would all agree, sometimes if I'll leave your hand, you're like, that's have you felt that way, and then all of a sudden it rattles in and out? Right? You're ready to do your little shimmy, like, oh, shoot, I can't do it. Right? But it feels good. Like, would there be anything to change if it felt great? Or no, you would just do it again. Do it again. But if it didn't feel great, I'm like, oh, I feel like that's going to be long, and it's long. Is there something to change? So then I'm going to like figure out in my head, what do I need to do differently? That's not me failing. You know what failing is? Me playing baseball is the easiest example I could give you. Me playing baseball, sitting in the batter's box, and watching 3 strikes go by and not even swing. And then striking out. And then feeling bad about striking out. It's like, well, what did you think was going to happen? Did you even attempt to have success? Did that batter even attempt to succeed? If he just sat there and watched 3 strikes go by, is he even attempting to succeed? No, because what's the objective? To do what with the ball? Hit it. Did he even give himself a chance? No. It'd be like going in to take a test and they're like, okay, you ready? You're like, excuse me, I didn't study. Should I do well on that? It's like, well, no. Okay, you're going to get a bad grade, guarantee it. You didn't even give yourself a chance to get a good grade. That would be failing. Not even attempting to succeed. You guys understand the difference? But not one of you guys here is not attempting to succeed. Would you agree with that? All of you guys are pursuing some goal, some contribution that you want to be making to this team. Do you agree with that? So you will never, if you're doing that, ever fail. The only thing you can ever do is fall what? Fall short. That's it. And fall short is right next to success. In that new world, this would be falling short. This would be success. Failure doesn't even exist anymore. It's not even real. It's so important you eliminate that word in their lives. It's such an inappropriate reference to anything someone who's striving to be ambitious would do. It's a joke. And it's unfair. It really is. It's completely unfair. I could go into it and articulate that, but they're 10, so I'm not going to do that right now. But it's so unfair that word is even a word that we try to inocutize. You know, we mean well, and we're like, it's okay. And my son's a baseball kid. Played at USC, just got drafted by the Mets last year. He's in the minor leagues, grinding it out, having, a great year right now and just moving up the ladder quicker than he ever thought. For all the reasons that I kind of talked about. That kid's been conditioned to be a mental monster. He does not worry about the things he doesn't control. Baseball is a challenging sport. You can get in your head so fast because you get on these hit streaks or bad streaks or whatever, and it can get in your head, and you're thinking in the box when someone's throwing 96 miles per hour at you and you can't do that. It's hard. But he's been conditioned to be this mental monster. He plays one game only, and that's the only game that he wants to win, and it's his. He's learned how to take an ownership of that and extract the right information from moments that don't work. He could go 0 for 14, and it's like he's not trying to find a reason to have issue with it. He's trying to find a reason to create momentum from it. Does that make sense? And it's a really powerful thing. So, he's a great example of that, but he's been on streaks that are horrible. But he doesn't even think of failure. But they use that word all the time in baseball. It's a failure sport. You're great if you get 3 out of 10. You know what I mean? It's like they say that all the time. But it's not failing. The dude's throwing 99. He's good on the mound, and he's got a 91 mile per hour slider that falls off the plate. Like, dude's good. He got me. Like, that's not me failing. That's me falling short from what my objective was. Like, why do we think that everything that's not exactly what we wanted is a failure? I don't understand. It makes no sense at all. But we use the word, and we don't mean to use it in a way that's negative. I think we try to use it in a way that makes athletes feel better about making mistakes. But the mere mention of the word failure in our society, there's a negative stigma associated with it. So no matter how we try to paint it and you know, wrap it up in a nice gift, like all around us, like you hear failure. And failure is never associated with something positive. We're always referencing people as failures or whatever who are not achieving and don't succeed and blah, 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 blah. So they don't even need that in their vocabulary. Does that make sense? It's brutal. It's brutal. And it's not your fault if you use that word. It's just, you wouldn't know. You know what I mean? You really wouldn't know. And that's kind of my world. That's where I come in. But in any event, so are you going to use the word failure ever again? No. You're not failing if you don't achieve exactly what you wanted. What are you doing?
You fell short.
You just fell short. When I fall short, I'm like, okay, well, how do I fix it? Right? If you know the answer, shouldn't you be excited to fix it? Yeah. Right? If I know what the answer is to fix it, then I'm like, okay, give me the ball. I want to do that again. Does that make sense? Okay, can we watch this for just a few minutes? Is that okay? I just want to go over a few things with you guys. They had 2 girls on their team, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They were both 11.
Yeah. They're like, they cheated. They were 11.
Actually, no, I went to this
I don't have any
and I saw one of them
You know how
there.
to connect this? I don't have any cords.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think they were in 11 high school.
No, one of them was 10.
8 and 14.
Number, I saw number 8 at this Russell Westbrook
There you go.
camp and she was 10.
Bailey.
Yeah, camp.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, she was like number 6. Was she there?
So let's talk about that girl real quick, the point guard with the braids.
Yeah.
What hand was she?
Left.
Yeah, so I want you to think about that. When we talk about the mental game, okay, I want you to think about the mental game in 3 parts. Okay? 3 parts. I'm just going to put this right here. I'm going to stop doing that because that's too hard for me. There's a psychological part. There's an intellectual part. And then there's an emotional part. The emotional is the absolute biggest and most important part of your game, period. This one right here. Because no matter how much work you do technically on your game, okay, out here, if you fear, if you feel pressure, if you're judgmental, if you're worried about making mistakes, then you will never let yourself play the game you want to play consistently. You guys understand that? Ever. And you can't be your best. Who here wants to be their best? Yeah, then what you have to do is say, I'm okay. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. It is what it is. I can't worry about it. I want to learn from it. I want to grow from it.
Good issue.
Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's why we'll watch this. And if I mention your name because you're the guy who did something, don't get upset. Don't cry, right? You guys cry, your parents said they could slap you for crying. Yeah. There's no reason to cry. Don't get offended. We're all about learning, right? Like, once you want to know what you did wrong so you can do something better. Don't you want to know? Yeah. So it's okay. We're all going to make mistakes. It's okay. Does that make sense? So, the psychological part is this. Okay? So the psychological part is, how do I play a game against one person? That person is who? Me. The greatest athletes you will ever see on this planet. Part of the reason they're great is because they don't play against their competition. They play against themselves. All of them. They play against themselves. That's why they're phenomenal. So how do I learn to do that? Where I get to play free. I don't worry about making mistakes. I'm okay with going 2 for 28 or whatever when I'm shooting. And I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to shoot 20 more shots if that's what it takes. I'm never going to shy away from shooting. Because at some point I know I'm making it. That's what they're great at doing. The intellectual part is what we're going to talk about right now. Like, how do I play a game where I understand I'm playing chess? Who's ever played chess? Yeah. So this is chess. I was a football player who played basketball. I did not grow up playing basketball, but as an adult I started playing basketball and I got very, very, very good at it. Most people would say like I was really, really good, and I would say like I was pretty good, but what I was extremely good at was playing chess. Always. There was never anything I ever did, offensively or defensively, that did not have a reason behind it. Every dribble I took, if it went between my legs versus like this, if I did a crossover, there's always a reason that that was happening. Because I'm paying attention to every single thing that the person across from me is doing. Everything. So the second I do this and I do that, and I see you take one little step like that, I'm like, God, there's my lane to the rack. The second I know you're overly aggressive and I'm about to get a pass and I can see you out of my peripheral vision, I know the second I get it, you're coming. So the second I get it, I'm going to take off. And I might get a foul on you or go right by you. Either one's a really good thing. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
And so this is what I mean. Like because I'm not worried about making mistakes, I give myself a chance to really see the game around me. When you worry about making mistakes, you will not see the game around you the way that you should. You'll be more worried about what? Making instead of seeing the game. Do you guys understand that? And so like I watched your guys' film and I'm like, okay, that would be a perfect time to like cut down the lane. That team was so aggressive that you guys played, right? Like second you got a ball at the point guard and you two, they're like mobbing you with 2 or 3 people. Is that true? Yeah. And so that's a great team to go attack and break down. But if you're worried about turning the ball over, you're worried about making mistakes, then you're going to play right into their hands. Yeah, it's okay. And I saw it. It's okay. It's all right. It's all good. But that's a great thing to learn from, right? Great thing to learn from. Does that make sense? Let's see. Was this good?
Yeah, you're good. You said that.
Okay. Just as a quick reminder, what are you always going to make? Mistakes. Okay? Can you accept that now? Yes, you have to. If you don't, then you're going to always prevent yourself from playing the way you want. Okay? You guys want to, is there a way to bring your chairs over here so I can sit right here easier?
I just want to say my subscribers have gone up like 400%. I just want to.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like I'm watching
subscribe.
But-
I'm watching like
Cameron,
I'm looking at you
Cribs
like.
video.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Is this your footage?
Yeah.
I'm just so worried about I'm about to.
Okay, were you nervous about the tip or were you okay?
I was
Like
like,
the guy was making a weird face.
I was a little,
The guy's making a weird
He's staring
face.
down
But
like.
were you nervous or were you relaxed about the tip off?
I was nervous because it was a championship game, but
Okay? And so just think about that. Really quickly, you guys just heard me said I was nervous because it was a championship game? Okay, so you're tipping it off. Is the referee always going to do that in every single game you ever play, championship or not? Are you always going to jump up and try to tip it to your teammate? Does that ever change? So what does that have to do with the championship game? Nothing? You see what I'm talking about? This is what they do. You change the game, and so things change in how you do what you do. Now you're worried about like, am I going to respond right to it, and then you're late jumping or something like that, and he gets like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, right? We're changing the game.
Why was your opponent looking at you all crazy?
Because he thought he was going to what you? Starts with the I, probably. And intimidate you, right? Like, we're the bosses here. And you're like, okay, we'll find out, right? I'll give you one quick story before we get into this. When I was playing in college, my junior year, unfortunately I missed almost my whole senior year in college, but my junior year we were playing a team that was number 4 in the country at the time. I played a lower level football. It wasn't Division 1, it was Division 2, but they were really good. And they had 4 defensive backs that cover us as wide receivers, and their 4 defensive backs the night before the game came out and talked trash to my whole team, specifically about me. Because at that point I was playing really, really good football. And I didn't even hear them talking trash. I walked to the sideline after I watched them sit by our team, and then they left. And they're like, CT, you hear what those guys said about you? I'm like, no, what'd they say? They told me what they said. I'm like, all right, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Right? Like, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. And that's me. Like, I don't say anything, but you don't want me sleeping on you talking trash. Because I'm going to come out, I'm going to have a cape on, like Superman. And I'm going to come out and destroy you. And that's exactly what I did. I had 9 catches for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. And 424 total yards. And there were NFL scouts there, and I guarantee you that's what put me on the NFL map. Because I had back-to-back-to-back games that were huge, but that was the biggest by far. I never said one word to them, except one time. When I had like my 7th catch, the guy tackled me, and one of the dudes talking trash. None of them talked trash in the game. But he tackled me, and I just got up, and I looked at him, and I said, I know you weren't trying to talk. That's all I said. I know you were trying to talk. And he didn't say a word, didn't look at me, nothing. But like, I'm just gonna go play vicious no matter what. I don't care who you are. I don't play against you. I play against me. My pride is too great. I never worry about you. I know I got too much beast in me to worry about you. And that's got to be your attitude. But you need to learn how to own that game. A lot of that game is mental. Were you gonna say something?
You just said it.
Okay. See, we think alike. Let's go. So if you could do that over, would you jump differently for that? Yeah, right? So that's a great thing to learn from. That's what I mean, right? It happened. It's a great thing to learn from. Never change the game, right? Okay? I have no issue with what you tried to do right there. Like, that was great. Now, so right there, did you see how like you slid up at a moment when like you closed the gap so much that she could potentially go by you? Yeah. So that's just you going, okay, well, I'm not gonna get that close to where they can run by me like that. I'm gonna make sure like I don't take that step, because that's what I would do. If I saw you step up like this, I'd be like, well, I'm going now. Does that make sense? So you can easily prevent that by just not overcommitting right there, right? And she's a lefty, so would you want her going to her left? Right. You see how I said right? But she turned it over, right? Did you tell her about it? Like, yeah.
Do you have internet connection in here?
Shane Foster. Shane Foster.
Yeah.
Yo, he froze time.
Showing that this right here.
Yo, you could do that with your
I'm not holding the ball,
Chris, are you connected to the Wi-Fi?
Shane's carrying.
I don't know. I don't use this laptop very
I
often.
don't care,
I might not
sir.
be. Let's see, if it does it again, I'll check that connection. I don't want to keep you guys here forever.
Good D, good D.
Yeah, unfortunately, I need to see if it's going to freeze again or not.
I tipped it.
Did you
I
tip it?
think I tipped it. I know for sure.
Did you tip it?
Oh, it's me!
It says it's playing.
Oh, yeah, that's why. What is the Wi-Fi here?
Yeah, I would know the password.
It's
Hold on, I'll find it for you.
It's SA guess.
Oh, there it is. Does it say hotspot? One guess. Oh, but it's locked.
Hold on, I got you. It's
SA guess.
They're always changing the password.
Does the guest have a password though? I don't think it does.
It says it's secured, unfortunately.
No, there's another. There's like they have like 7 different.
Oh, they do?
ones.
Oh, there's another. Well, that one's.
Are you able to get on social Wi-Fi?
Social Wi-Fi. Social. We're doing our social.
Oh, there's a social.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Connect that. Or you can just run.
There you go.
Social Wi-Fi. Social Wi-Fi.
Let's see if I can connect.
Social Wi-Fi battle.
You should make a song about that. It should be like a
Bruh.
Oh yeah, it's a login and then you have to
Welcome to
Yeah.
Sports Academy. Bro.
They're like, nah.
Please put your first.
Should I put one of your guys' names in?
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah, do
You can
Alexander.
Put my name.
Do what, I'm sorry?
yeah, you can put in George Ellis.
Or you can do Michael Jordan.
No.
You can
Alex
also
Your email address?
Alexander Ellis.
GSELLIS21@gmail.com.
21 Thank you.
Check your
Thank you
inbox.
for having me
Yep.
scan.
Got it.
Okay, go back to
They don't make anything easier.
Oh, you should be good. You should be good now.
Okay.
What you gonna be having?
You have been scanned.
Alright, there we go.
Oh,
Alright, there we go.
there.
Oh wait.
No,
Oh, no, it's fine.
Shane has to
I think we got
Oh.
Bentley, you gotta
So it's okay. So right here.
No. You weren't even
Here's
there.
one thing I would say right here.
Hey, that's a violation.
And I'm sure Andrew told you guys all this, but just think about right here. Like, you're always thinking about, how do I make the easiest pass?
Yeah.
Right?
I was wide open.
You think that's the easiest pass or no? Yeah, so it's just a lot of traffic there, right? Especially when you're starting out the game, right? You're still getting feel for it. So that's an easy thing to fix. You turn it over, I know why. I passed into traffic, next time I won't, right? Like, it's okay. That's okay, right?
Immaculate.
They're very aggressive, so already, like, I knew in 2 minutes how aggressive this team was. Did you know that, Andrew? Yeah. So I was like, man, this seems really aggressive. And then just this right here, right? Like just,
What was that? I don't know. I thought you
were gonna catch the ball.
You were at the ball.
So we both did that and did nothing.
Well, who was supposed to be there?
I'm going
Hey, I
there.
don't think you're supposed to be up top right now.
No, I went.
they're like, that's you know, it's my,
No, I went to the corner,
It's all
but then
good.
nothing was open, so I had to
Yeah,
leave,
you have to
right?
stay in the corner.
And that's my fault. Even nothing.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
And nothing was waiting on my side.
Oh, yeah, good team.
Were you first, second, or third?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good team as well. Oh, this time I.
I got fouled.
So here's what I would say to this. This is awesome by you. But here's what I would say to this, okay? I'll just show you. Like one little thing. So this is just the IQ part, right? When I talk about IQ, I mean intellectually. The second you get that, what I would be thinking is I want to cut her off. So she can't even be right here on me. Because if she can stay right here on you, she's always going to be like a layer between you and the basket, right? So this was awesome. Once you get there, like you cut her off so she cannot stay on the side of you. Then everything changes. She still might foul you from behind, but all of a sudden you get an and one. You know what I mean? And then you get to do a little shimmy, right? So that is the IQ part. You guys all understand what I'm talking about? That's like the IQ part.
You were like a half.
See how you kind of let her stay on the side right there? That's all. It's all good. So that's where you'd be like, okay, I feel that now. Next time I'm going to fix
Come
it.
on, JD, make
It's all
these,
good.
make these.
Yeah.
Kobe.
Yeah.
Nice one. Bro, it's still free.
Andrew, is that pretty common where they only have that line and they don't have like the top of the key thing?
It was, we were kind of weird floor.
That's weird.
It wasn't real floor.
Oh,
It was
no
tile.
way.
It was tile.
Seriously?
Yeah, they were like
plastic
plastic
tiles.
tiles. They were plastic tiles.
That's weird.
There's like 50 quarters.
Yeah, there's
40 something.
44.
44, yeah.
Yeah, 44 is the same thing, only 6. Only 6 different. Oh yeah, Alex!
There you
Go
go.
Alex! Go Alex! Go get a layup! Wow!
Did you think you got fouled, Alex?
Yeah, I tripped on someone's
Yeah,
foot.
you got
Yeah, but did you think you got fouled? Were you upset that they didn't call it?
No, I wasn't upset.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Another chair.
And stuff like that. Look at it. So that happened. Alex, look at it. So that happened. You trip, you turn it over, like, it's because you tripped.
Yeah.
Like, there'd be no reason to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I turned it over. Well, you know what? The girl tripped you. She likes you. It is what it is. Right? That's her way of telling you she likes you.
Yeah.
If she punched you in the face, she runs like you.
Wait, that was a
That's a
chair.
great job.
Yeah, block by the Quavio.
I literally just said that.
Oh yeah, go Alex.
My bad.
That's all good.
That was great anticipation right there. I love that.
Now we switch positions.
No,
No
way.
way. They were
Oh,
They were shooting
just that one. Just number 8. Yeah, just number 8. Oh wait.
So who are you passing to right there?
I'm
Yeah,
passing it to JD.
And you
Oh wait, I was
When it
confused.
overpassed. You're like,
Yeah, you
I
were
never
passing
passed it to me.
Yeah, I knew Alex was to my side, so I just looked.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. It wasn't you. No, it was Alex.
Next time, throw it ahead of me and not ahead of Alex, so that I know that it's for me and not.
Yeah.
Well, so here's a really easy way to solve that. If you see two guys around just like that, just call the name, right? Just be like, Alex, just so that there's no confusion, so that he knows to like pay attention. Right? That's it.
Who can eat the most cupcakes? Well, I don't think those cupcakes look good. So.
Stop playing with your nails.
Hey, Grandma.
Yeah.
She was nervous. Yeah.
My face comes up.
Hey.
Rebound! Oh yeah, Vlad got a rebound. Yeah, we're rebounding. I don't see you guys.
It's a really good defense again.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
won.
won.
Yeah, you won. Okay, B. Okay, to Alex.
Go
Okay,
Alex.
Finish
Oh,
that.
Crossover.
Oh, foul and what?
Oh, just shoot it.
So, Alex, what was your thought right there?
Layup.
For Ellen.
What was your thought right there? What were you thinking?
I wanted to pass.
Okay.
Because JD was wide open.
I was wide open, but
You
he couldn't
get
cross
fouled.
out. Yeah, look, see, you were a hop step. You see how there's contact there?
You were on him.
So if you could do that over right here, before you even got that close to them, who might you pass to?
See your foot.
Because you did a great job. The fact that you started going to the hoop you drew both of them towards you,
I
right?
should have passed the keys behind the cherry pick. I should
Exactly.
have passed the JD.
Right? Because what's awesome is that this is the IQ part again, so think about it. So Alex, think about it. All you guys, like, listen to this real quick.
Or could pass it to a Vaughn, because
You
no one's
could-
looking
if he stayed, right? But think about this really quickly. Okay, hold on.
Listen up, listen
Think
up.
about this really quickly. The second you go in and you draw two guys too, you know somebody else has to be open. Right? That's exactly what you want. I'm sure he would tell you that all day. Like, you have someone who can draw double teams, that's the best thing in the world. You do that, you know someone's open, and so even as you're doing that, you're looking for the person who may be the guy that's open because of that. Does that make sense? So that's what I mean about the intellectual part. There's the dribbling part, and then there's the mental part. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's all good. Turn it over, it happens. There's no reason to beat yourself up. Oh, it was? Okay.
Give me 3.
Is that what you guys do on the floor?
Sometimes, if it's a blowout game.
That's even worse, man. Hurt people's feelings.
Is it only true?
Give me
Good
3.
defense.
Don't say give me 3 when.
Well, I say to every give me 3s, okay?
Okay, I don't give me
It is true. But sometimes they make it.
So-
Give me
Oh,
3.
Not that
There was
Oh my god.
That's all he did the whole game.
This
So-
cherry.
I'm sure Andrew's told you this, Coach Andrew.
I ran that weirdly.
It's all good. Someone always has to be paying attention to, like, the guy who's the outlet guy. How many times did they outlet the ball in the
Hundreds.
They did it a ton.
We faced it a lot with Shepard, right?
That's right. That's right.
And then literally,
Shepherd or cherry
he's literally Alex
They
with
did
that,
the
like,
same thing.
he just jumps in.
I champion.
And so honestly, if you think about it, it's such an easy thing. You guys win this game. If you just stop them from fast breaking like that, they did it like 7 times.
They got 12 points off of it.
Yeah, there you have it. You know what I mean? If you're just aware that the last guy in defense needs to get back there, the second they did it one time, you guys should have known, like, okay, they like to outlet like that, so we can't let them do that on us. Does that make sense? Like, Coach Andrew shouldn't have to tell you that. Do you think you guys, if you're paying attention, could figure that out? Yeah. Right? So the second they do, they're like, okay, they like to do that. We can't give it to them. Someone's got to get back. Does that make sense? That's an easy thing to fix. And Coach just said it. They scored 12 points off of that.
I got
I think he missed it though, but he missed one.
The aim was not right.
The aim was a shepherd.
I gotta get back.
Is at least the Magic actually had
aim.
Yeah, they had.
Shepherd, they just chopped it up.
Yeah, they just chuck it and they make it.
Yeah, that's
No, they actually just go like this.
That's a great example. I love what you did right there.
Give me 3.
So this is a great example of what I'm talking about. The second that guy stepped out at you, you went by him. Like, that is so smart. That's why aggressive players are so easy to, like, beat. Because you just did it. Watch yourself right here. The second he came out like that, look at you're going.
See ya.
He's done. Just like that. Like, but this is what I mean. So now I want you to be aware of it. Right? Because you just happen to do it, but I want you to be aware that's what you're looking for. Right? I get the ball. If I see someone step out at me and they're aggressive, I'm going by them. Because if you do what you just did, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to foul you because they're coming into you as you're going around them, and then you can do like your fake like ball Manu Ginobili, you know,
I need the flower.
or you're going to get around them. Either one's a good thing. Does that make sense? So now you need to pay attention to that. Does that make sense? That's a great job right there. Oops.
Oh, short. I get the rebound.
Again, it's like the same.
It's all good.
Same. Oh my god.
But the other one.
Alex, this is awesome by you. I love that you want to get the ball. I would just say, could you be more aggressive to it?
Yeah, don't back jump.
That's it. If you go to it,
I don't
she
think he
fouls
knew
you.
there was a defender.
Does that make sense?
The fact that she got it out of bounds. She got it from out of bounds.
I know.
Wait, wouldn't that be over the line then? Like,
No, I think she hit it
Oh, God.
while she was up. While she was
No, it
up.
has to be touching the ground.
The only cherry pickers if you guys let them be cherry pickers. You know what I mean?
very
If you guys let them be cherry pickers, they're going to cherry pick.
What if we say great pickers? Great.
Great.
I wouldn't say they're really great. Oh, wait, no, you said great.
Zero. Great.
Oh, I got it.
So would you make an easier pass if you could do that over? Yeah. And so that's, again,
Probably like thick.
yeah. I love that you just said that. Because there are so many instances where you could be faking, right? You know they're going to jump because they're aggressive, right? The second you do that, you can get them to jump.
That was
Nice pass.
I love that, Alex. I love that you didn't shoot it again and you went to the rack. And that's okay, but that's okay. Like, if you could do that over, would you have taken more time to just really see the basket? Yeah, and so think about that. If you just take more time to see the basket and not just huck it up, right? Then you fix that and you get 2 points. But it's okay, like this is what I mean. That happens, you're like, oh my God, see your spot and like hit your spot and just make it easier. Like don't just throw it up. Did you fix that? Yeah, and then you fix it, you don't worry
I know,
about it.
that's not bad.
Right?
I should go to the corner.
Yeah, for next time, let's not do that. Because
Yeah, sometimes I get worried about getting trapped in the corner.
let's not do that.
Six fast break points right there.
Yeah, I know. So like,
Back
that's
to
not
back to
bad.
back.
Go, Alex.
That's a good job,
All
Alex,
the
what
rounds.
you were doing.
Number 23, his last name was Jordan, and like,
Yeah, Jordan. Is he really?
Love that.
Oh,
Great job.
yeah. That was cute.
It wasn't even a 3.
that looked like an air ball.
I
gave you 2.
Oh, you mean 2?
Give me the
That is great help.
Oh, yeah,
That was
foul.
great by both of you guys.
Yeah,
That was so
what?
good.
Bro, why was she was like,
She went like this. Me.
bro, it's a clear foul.
Yeah. So the girls in that game, she's like
I know.
like Karen on the court. Hey.
That was such a great sequence for you guys. Great ball movement. Everything was awesome
The
about it.
left hand top.
She has like this best aim I've
Ain't
ever
no way you
seen.
make press.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
with the rebound.
So I want you to look at this real quick. Does he shoot it or does he just throw it up? And that's what I mean. Guys do that all the time at your age, and somehow they think it's gonna go in. You know what I mean? It's like you can't just huck it up and think it's gonna go in. Now it might, but you're gonna get lucky. You can't live and die by that.
TV3.
He's like, hey, coach just put me in. I'm getting my money's worth. I'm getting my money's worth. Every time you pull him, you're like, this is why I don't put you in. You just shot 5 times in 3 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Coach
See,
is.
the person, the camera.
Coach is
Nice.
Karen on the court. Karen on the court.
No, I saw the hair go like this.
Okay.
Like when.
Yeah, in the back.
That's a great job to get yourself to the basket, right?
Oh yeah,
So
Alex.
good.
I should have shot that. Wait, I should have shot that.
You were okay. What you did was great.
Karen has the ball.
That was really good.
Karen has the ball.
Oh yeah.
It said no back to the
That's-
All
All right, hold on. But this is hold on. This is where you have to realize that referees live in the success failure box where they're mostly failing and they're a little bit of success.
That's right. So right here, if you could do this over, would you give her the left?
Yeah. Because sometimes I don't notice if you're left.
Yeah, I
So that is what
Chucked it up.
that is what has to change, though, right? So second, you know she's a lefty, you can't give her that, right? That's it. And then she
Force
never
it
does
to her
it.
right.
Yeah.
So easy.
like she dribbled.
That was a chuck up.
That's a good shot by her. Though. I gotta give it to you. That was a good shot.
No, it was
That
a
was a lot of
horrible
things.
shot selection.
Carry,
but
travel.
The fact that she managed to make that is absurd.
Okay, Eric.
Oh, you go, Eric.
Eric.
Oh yeah, Eric.
Oh yeah, Eric.
Is he still on your team?
Yeah.
Oh, I like
Eric,
that.
Eric, I noticed a lot.
Eric, I
You
like the
always
way you
pump
play.
it right, and you grab the
Little half.
Oh yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah.
Signature.
Okay, Eric, let's go.
Okay, foul.
So wait,
Yeah.
who is this right here?
Ooh,
That's in the corner.
that was.
Oh, that's wait, what's going on?
Me?
Maybe.
I had the ball.
So
Can't see.
this is the anticipation part of your JD. Like you know they love to press hard, right? You already know that by now. You can see like he's already trying to pop out when Eric goes there. So you know like if you go down that lane, you're gonna get mobbed, right? You can already tell that that's gonna happen. And then what happened was he came out before they could really mob, but then once you went there, then you gave them a chance to just serve it.
Yeah, when I get a hand off, just go right.
That's it, right? And not only that, in this instance, you don't even try to pass him. You throw it off that kid's leg. Don't even try to pass. You're right next to the sideline.
He just
Throw it off his leg.
He's like, it's just.
No, that's a James Harden clip. The
I
dog.
have to do it sometimes.
Yeah, you do have to do it.
Oh yeah. Against that violated. To do it to Harden.
That was a dangerous
That
pass.
was a dangerous pass. You got away with it.
That was
So I love that you know that because you could do it differently next time, right?
Oh.
By a girl, for crying out loud. I got it, man. I love the pump fake though, dude. That
And the
was so
pump fake was
good.
Watch it,
Like she changed things.
to Eric.
He went to Africa.
Sarah Ricker went to Africa.
Take some back.
You should do that every time. If you thought you could get the shot off, there's nothing wrong with that. She blocked it. It's
Well,
what
how
it
did
is.
you make that
You know what I
same
mean?
pass to the same person every time?
He's somebody who would never shoot before.
She's shooting that.
Karen shot and Alex with the rebound.
Are you being a commentator?
Yes.
Alex,
Alex with the rebound.
He
You're
dribbles.
getting guarded
He
by
dribbles.
Alex.
He's
Karen
passing
in
the
the
middle.
middle.
Oh,
Karen shoots a three.
Oh,
Okay,
that was a bad shot.
And then Bentley with the
It
rebound.
happens,
He
though.
shoots it.
It's all good.
He misses it.
He
Alex
misses
with the
it.
rebound.
That was the right shot. It just didn't go in.
And
You know what I
boom.
mean? So you figure out what I need to do differently. It's okay.
Why
If you get that shot again, you don't hesitate.
Get
You
down.
shoot.
Because they can't. What? He's not.
Guys, I might want to do that.
He told me to go down, he caused a turnover. Alex caused a turnover.
Okay, JD with the ball.
Guy was the right spot.
Yeah, he told him where to go, and he caused a turnover.
Was that a mover? He passes it to JD
I
back.
haven't no
Barry,
idea.
this is so smart right here. It's so subtle, but it's so smart how quickly you got rid of the ball before they could really like mob you. That right there is so smart. It's such a simple thing, but it's huge because if you'd have waited another second, that would have probably been a turnover.
You're like Kyrie Thompson.
That's the intellectual part. You gotta understand that you gotta use your mind when you're out there. You're not just playing the game. You have to use your mind.
Shane passes the
Coaches
ball.
can only drop schemes for you, but then you guys have to like execute. You know what I mean? I love what you're
Sugar
doing.
Shane with the ball.
Why do you have the same headband?
Passes it to Eric. Eric goes like whatever he does.
Eric goes like whatever.
And
Like,
then Shane with the ball.
Don't worry about it.
go me.
And then
Block him.
And then she missed that.
She missed that.
She commentator. A commentator. Eric
No,
is whatever.
you know what I should have done? I should have went on the backside to shoot.
So right there, would you do the same thing or what would you do differently?
Instead, I would fake it and then do a letter.
Yes. Take it or
Or
even dribble out. Yeah, right?
No!
Yeah.
I don't think you could do that.
Your job is to always find the easiest pass, right? Always find the easiest pass. Just keep it simple, right?
Oh! Stop!
Dude, this is a
Stop! I can't
She
shoot.
missed.
We all so
Hey!
That was great hustle because you didn't even do anything except go like in front of her
Oh my
and that made her
gosh.
miss it.
Give me 3.
That was awesome.
This kid made it. I don't know.
Trying to give them extra points.
Let's go.
JD with the ball.
Ready? Watch this.
He
Ready?
dribbles. He dribbles. He dribbles. He dribbles. He dribbles.
I love
He
when
dribbles.
I aim.
He dribbles. He passes it to Alex. He dribbles. He
Good,
dribbles.
good,
He
good.
dribbles. Passes it to me. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I pass it to JD. JD does whatever.
for 11
I
minutes.
don't know. It got
Okay,
reversed.
Alex, right here.
I reverse time.
This would be, so think about it. You came from here, but do you see the space between these two people?
Shoot that.
That would be a great time for you to go here with the intention to do what? Draw what?
Two defenders
Yeah.
and then Shane.
Yes.
Or JD.
So this is what I'm talking about. Like the second, you'll see it. I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit. You'll see
Shane
it.
is wide.
Like, shoot it right now.
And if you drop in there, then you'll see like she's gonna drop down because that's what they're scheming. You see how much room there was right there?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you give it to Shane where he has a chance to shoot that.
Passes it to Eric. Eric does whatever he wants. And then pump it.
Wait!
And
Why did you dribble above your head? I just noticed that.
Eric could have carried.
It's a
I
great
pass it to
pick.
You just noticed that right now.
A male Karen in the. Give me 5. Give me 5. Give me 5.
Probably not with that shot.
What do you mean?
He's
But
on the
I want you guys,
Guys, listen.
listen. So, right here, Like he's in no man's land. So JD, this is like, when I see this, this is a perfect opportunity for you to drop right there. Because think about it, like he's got nowhere to go. The second you realize that he's going baseline, your job is to like try to find a lane. Because he has no one to pass to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he can't pass. Is that Alex?
No, yeah.
Is that you, Alex, right there?
Yeah.
That's a tough pass because she's standing right next to you. But this is the one who's got an opportunity. Does that make sense? And so this goes back to the whole, this is the intellectual part, right?
I'm not there.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know.
Hey, if there was a basket on the side of the backboard, that would have been a great shot.
Yeah, that would have been an amazing shot.
See how you find good in it? Right?
Eric,
Find good in everything.
She's jacking it up.
Eric, you beat that shit.
Block her, Alex. I got it.
Oh my that was so much.
Now this
I feel sorry for her.
Jenny
You
went
blocked
to
it
4
already.
hours.
I'm just kidding.
double team didn't
Jenny-
I'm just kidding.
Jenny went too far on his own, so I had to help.
Yeah, that's my bad for overplay.
Oh, now you're shot.
Okay, now,
again,
now my
same shot.
Yeah, so he does it again.
It's over.
And
So
it's my
it's
bad.
really
so
Eric.
afraid, bro.
It's you and JD. When he starts coming there, look at, like they're not even paying attention to you
They're
guys.
not even looking at
So
them.
it's your guys' job to find the lane, right, that he can get the ball to you in. Does that make sense? Because they're not even paying attention to you. They're looking at him,
Yeah.
right?
All of them are.
All of them are. So like you guys have a perfect chance to like sneak in and find a hole where you can drop a ball to you. Does that make sense?
Miles attractive.
And that's where the intellectual part comes in. You guys with me on that?
Yeah.
Let's see, does he pass
We'll
it?
watch a couple more minutes and we're gonna get you guys out of here. It's like a sauna in
Hey,
here.
wait, wait.
It is.
No, I don't mean that.
I tried
I
to turn
don't
on the
mean
AC, it
that.
didn't work.
What's up, Mike?
Why go in the middle? See?
My bad.
Go in the middle. No,
Is it okay that we're watching this? Is it okay that we're doing? I know.
Yeah.
sometimes
Oh,
that's-
yeah.
No, no. I just think we got first day of school tomorrow, so
Shane.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, Daddy.
JD, good hustle. Good hustle.
Yeah.
So what would you do differently right here, JD?
Steal it. Cut him off.
Cut him off, yes.
Yeah, because think about it right here.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta start.
When he shot it, like the second he did that,
I gotta start sprinting.
you gotta do that.
The second they get the
See,
rebound, they
you
just
could fix
run
that
off.
easily. And he missed it, so it's all good.
You learn.
But you could fix that easily.
Good hustle, JD.
And then I steal the ball, but they call a foul.
Yeah, like what? There's no foul.
Like that
I
was
can't.
You look so
No, it
exaggerated.
looks like a foul. But it looks like a foul.
Yeah, this was
You was exaggerating.
Box out, box out, box out.
Yeah.
So much, Eric.
JD
Look
got
at Eric from Africa.
His name's Peter for a reason.
What did they call? Was that not good?
Oh, he
I
stepped on the
saw
line
it. Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't go that route.
See, that's a great job. The worst thing you could have done right here
Oh, that's a foul, man.
is pick up your dribble. If you would have picked up your dribble, so I want everyone to pay attention. This is something so subtle, but it's such a big deal. The worst thing that JD could have done right here is pick up his dribble because he's feeling pressure when this girl's stepping out. But because he didn't, he was able to like get there. But if you would have picked up your dribble, they would have mobbed you and you would have not had a lane. You would have not had anywhere to see to try to distribute the ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was such a huge thing.
Yeah, right there, like.
And then he
Yeah, you don't
passed
like
it
it
to
one
me.
or what?
That's a foul.
Okay, but and then the Karens.
See, this is my hair. This is
And now we go to
So,
If you miss that, please tell me.
let's look at this again real fast, okay? So this inbound pass.
Who's that?
So if you could do that over,
Who's that?
it would be awesome because they're really aggressive, okay? There's a girl there, there's you there, there's him there, and I know that he looks like he's open, but that's a little tight for a team that's really aggressive. So if you did something like fake like you're passing to him, she's dropping down and he's going to be wide open, right? I promise you she's going to drop down. Does that make sense? Because look at what she does when you actually do pass. So like look at him,
Bro.
right? So if you just pump it because you know that they're jumpy, She drops down, you kick it out to JD, he drops it, and
I
next
could
thing
do
you
like
know,
a fake message.
exactly. Yeah, then he does his whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna end it there, just because you guys have been here a long time, and I want to get you guys out.
We want
But
more.
let's talk really quickly, just as a recap.
Like the video.
Listen up. Listen
Let's
up.
talk really quickly, just as a recap. So, why would there be no reason to get down here? So someone raise their hand and tell me based on what we just talked about tonight.
Because you're gonna miss shots.
100%. Gonna miss shots.
You gotta get turnovers.
You're gonna have turnovers sometimes. Our job isn't to judge them. Our job is to learn from them. Because you all agree that you deserve the chance to learn and grow, right? So how can I learn and grow if I'm not letting myself learn and grow? You can't, right? It's like wanting a tree to grow when you planted the seed, but you're not watering it. It's not growing. You know what I mean? So if you want to grow, then you need to be able to learn. So when I don't get what I want, I just learn from it. Make sense? Okay? Why would I not worry about making multiple mistakes? Someone raise your hand and tell me.
There's no such thing as failure.
Say it.
There's no such thing as failure.
Yeah, and you're going to make mistakes. It's basketball. You can miss 5 shots in a row, true? What does that have to do with shot number 6? Nothing. So why wouldn't you take shot number 6? That could be the shot that goes in. It won't go in though if you're worrying about missing the last how many shots. Yeah, it won't go in. Because you're going to be like, oh my God, don't miss number 6. And then sure enough, your body's going to listen to what your mind just told it. Your mind's telling you it has something to be scared about. You guys understand?
Yeah.
So that's why you got to let it go. Be like, hey, if I miss number 6, I miss number 6. But I know I can nail this. Let's freaking go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can't fight through bad moments. Why is that not true? I almost just said it right now, but why is that not true? Someone else raise their hand other than Shane?
Yes.
Yeah. Someone else raise their hand. Why is it not true that you can't fight through bad moments? Why is that not true? Alex.
It's not true because, it's not true that you can't fight.
Yeah, like someone said, I feel like I can't fight through bad moments. That's not true. Why is it not true? Why could you fight through bad moments? I kind of just said it.
You can fight through bad moments because there's nothing to worry about. Just be calm and fight.
Okay, and the next moment, what does that have to do with what happened in the past? The next moment is its own moment. Whatever happened in the past happened in the past, but this one moment, there's every reason that I have a chance to get what I want. If I just let myself do whatever it is that I want to do. If my focus is on everything I've been taught to make a shot, why wouldn't I be able to make the shot?
Because you're focusing too much on
What happened in the past.
Yeah.
But if we don't focus on what happened in the past, then we focus on the present, and then we have a chance to get exactly what we want. That's why we don't think about, I can't fight through bad moments. Well, yeah, you can. And we need to stop thinking about it as bad moments. It's not bad, right? It's just part of the game. You're gonna miss. It's okay. Stop telling yourself it's bad. Does that make sense? It's not bad, okay? Why should we not feel pressure to perform? And why should we not worry about it affecting our reputation? They're going to beat you up at school, right, JD? JD, I heard you guys lost the championship game. Right? They're not doing that. So why should we not worry about pressure to perform?
Because everybody's gonna make mistakes.
Exactly. Do you have to be perfect?
No, nobody has to.
Nobody. All you can do is go out there and give your best. Now, you have to understand, there's no reason to be scared about giving your best. Your best involves you making mistakes. It does. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. You have to accept that. You're going to make mistakes. There's no reason to be scared about making mistakes. You need to go play aggressively. The more aggressive you play, the smarter you play, the more fearless you play, the more likelihood that you're going to do a lot of really good things. The more scared you play, you're going to be drawing yourself to what you don't want, which is the mistakes. You guys understand? So you have to just say, forget it. It's okay. I'm going to go out there and just go for what I want. If you do that, you're going to do a lot of really good things. Okay? There's no reason to get angry about making mistakes because you know that mistakes are going to happen. So there's no reason to be angry about it. Learn from it. Now, can you be aggravated about something bad that happens? Yeah, but it can't, you can't hold on to it. You got to just let it go. I turn it over, I don't like it, it is what it is, there's more basketball to be played, I need to focus on what's in front of me, okay? Is failure making a mistake?
No.
Is failure missing a shot?
No.
Is failure turning a ball over?
No.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. For us to think that, it's absurd, right? Like, that's just ridiculous if you think that missing a shot is failing. Because then you don't stand any chance to succeed if that's your definition of failure. Because you're going to miss shots, probably more than you make at your age. You know what I mean? So you never again can think that missing a shot, turning a ball over, losing a game is you failing. It's not. It's just all part of our experience of growing. You guys understand?
Yep.
So, outside of that, do you understand now and just going over that, like the intellectual part I was talking about in watching that film?
Yep.
There's so many little things that you could do that would change your entire game if you play with your mind and not just like with what you learn technically. They go hand in hand, right? They go hand in hand. And if you can understand that a little bit from today, in this little time together, then you'll be better tomorrow, I promise you. Does that make sense? You guys have any questions before I let you go and get you out of here? And I did bring my ring because Mike told me to bring my Super Bowl ring, so I worked for you, so you guys.
That was my question.
Check it out. Before I leave, but do you have any questions? Anything? Does that all make sense, boys?
Have you ever played with Deion Sanders?
Matter of fact, I have a story about Deion. But no, I did. I played against Deion. And the objective when Deion was playing was to never ever throw the ball to Deion Sanders' side. I'm not kidding. Right? So you guys understand, Deion Sanders, if you don't know, was one of the best defensive backs to ever play the game.
And wide receiver.
Yeah. And he wanted you to try to throw to his side because he was going to try to bait you in to throwing it, and he's going to jump on it, intercept it, and go do his little high step to the end zone. So
fun to watch.
I got put in a situation where I had to go against Deion Sanders in a game where we were never supposed to throw to Deion Sanders' side. So here's a quick little story. I was playing with the Redskins. My head coach did not want me on that team. He only brought me back. He cut me because I was not one of his guys, but our special teams was terrible the first 2 weeks. Our special teams coach was the assistant head coach and said, you got to bring Chris Thomas back. So he did not want to bring me back, but he kind of had to. He brought me back and I became our special teams guru, and that probably just chapped his hide because he wanted to not keep me there for long. We had 7 wide receivers on the roster, only 5 guys dressed out on Sundays. I was always one of the 5 because I played special teams. 2 rookies did not dress out, but those 2 rookies were his guys. In practices, he never gave me any of our own offense, just in case I might go in the game for 11 weeks. He gave all the backup reps to the 2 wide receivers that never dressed out on Sundays, which made no sense at all. So he didn't prepare me at all. We're playing the Cowboys in week 11, super important conference game, divisional game, end of the year. And in the first half, 2 wide receivers get hurt, and they're done for the year. So I'm like, oh shoot, I might actually play. This is crazy. And I sat out of football a full year. I went to the Niners, played with them for a year, told my agent that there's no way that coach is going to let me make the team year 2. Sure enough, he cut me the week before the season. I sat out of football a full year. Then I signed with the Redskins, and now I'm back in football, but I had not played wide receiver in a game in like 18 months. So I'm like, shoot, I might actually play. And so I get into my playbook at halftime and making sure I know our plays, which I did. I knew 4 different wide receiver positions just in case. And the receiver coach loved me. He comes over, taps me on the shoulder, says, CT, Shep is done and Harp is done. Are you good? I'm like, yeah, T, I'm good. He's like, cool. He walked away. Should have been freaking out, but he knew me. Like, I'm a student. I'm going to know my stuff. It's all good. 2 minutes later, I hear the head coach call our receiver coach over to the right. He's like, Terry. And Terry's like, what's up? And the head coach was Norv Turner. This guy named Norv Turner. He goes, Terry. And he's like, what's up? And he said, Shep is done and Harp is done. Who else do we have to run a 3 wide receiver set? And Terry goes, we got Chris Thomas. And Norv's response was, mother effer. And I heard him. So imagine you have not played in 18 weeks or 18 months in a game. In practice, you've dominated. I went against this guy named Darryl Green, who's a Hall of Fame DB, every day in practice because our coach wouldn't give me our own stuff, so I was always the other team's #1 wide receiver. He was always the guy that shut down the other team's #1 wideout. I'm doing work on Darryl Green every single day, which is why my receiver coach loved me, which is why all the guys respected me, but my head coach did not want to see it, didn't pay attention to any of it. So this is why he had that response. He didn't like me. That would have destroyed most people, would you agree?
Yeah.
Like, they would have gone in and freaked out. But at that point I heard it, I didn't absorb it, and I just went, it is what it is, and I'm not playing for him. We go out there, he doesn't call a 3-wide receiver set in the third quarter. He does now call one in the fourth quarter. Receiver coach goes, CT, it's 2nd and 10. If we don't get another yard, here's what we're going to call. What do you do? I'm like, I'm going to go in motion and clear out for Henry Eller, who's like this 13-year veteran. And he goes, yeah, but I want you to be the one catching the ball. I want him inside, clearing out for you. And I was like, you want me to tell him that? And he's like, yeah. And I honestly did not want it at all. I did not want to be put in that position. I had a head coach who wanted to cut me, was not a fan of me. I knew that if I made one mistake, he was like going to say, see, I told you couldn't play. He was going to cut me on my team. I already knew it. So I did not want to be put in that position, but you can't say anything about it. So he put me in that position. I ended up having a big play. Same drive. We call another play. I'm lined up across on the other side from Dion. Our number one wide receiver was lined up on Dion. At that point, he had not gotten a ball thrown to him all game because of Deion Sanders. Mm-hmm. And he wanted the ball. So in the middle of the play, he starts yelling at me and screaming at me and like running to my side to switch places with him. And I'm like, what? We've never rehearsed this. So I'm sprinting to the other side. The play clock's running down. We have to call a timeout. Our head coach is such a coward. He cusses me out on the sideline when he knows I had nothing to do with it. And our receiver coach is like, why are you going to him? You know it was Michael. And then he shut his mouth and he called the same play. Michael did the exact same thing because he had no respect for our head coach. So I got lined up on Dion's side, and I just happened to have the play. So this is me with Dion right here. Okay, so this is my play with Dion. That's the catch I made first. And I've only ever run one play against Dion, and I took his lunch money, I will tell you that. So this is me and Dion right there. You'll hear what they say. That's me, yeah. They'll show it to you.
I keep imagining I like one day and I see it in like
See, you can hear them, listen to what they're saying. How about you go to Deion Sanders? Because nobody did that. Especially some guy you never heard of. So watch what they say.
89? 39?
Yeah, we're right up here.
Go, go, go. Yeah.
Did the draft just end?
Just now.
That's so true.
2 hours from now?
21? Nice
There you go.
Ben said it started.
He really just pushed me.
About hour 40 minutes.
He's like, let's freaking go!
I play Matt.
Hey man, thanks for giving me your gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, say thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What year?